Let's create an ornament. We're going to use our poinsettia or North Star pattern. We're going to load in our punch card. Make sure that it's completely flat. You'll see the line that's there. Make sure that that line stays flush with this plastic edge here. You're going to push in the knob, turn it to the right or counterclockwise, and then you can push this in and turn it down if you need to. Make sure that you line it up with that black line along with the machine here. Push your punch card to 1 and you are set for that step. So number 26, take your every other needle pusher and push every other needle out. And then you're going to go to the other side of 25. So 26 on the left, 25 on the right. Load in your background color. I'm going to be using cream. Open the door to your carriage, feed in your yarn, and then close the door back. Take a clothespin and hang a pin on your yarn. That keeps enough weight so that it will stay out of the gatepost as you go across. Knit across 1 row. You now have your loops hanging on your needles and outside of your gateposts. Hang your cast on comb onto those loops. You'll see I pulled this yarn out of the way so that it didn't create a loop. No big deal if it does. And then hang 3 weights. 1 on the end, 1 on the other end, and 1 in the middle right where there's 0. After you've done that, take your needles from position A, move them to position B so they're all in a row here, and then knit 1 across. Very good. We have 2 rows. Let's knit 3 more. Awesome. Your carriage ends on the left. We have a couple of steps here. So we are going to turn our dial to KC on our carriage. So our dial is turned to KC, and then we're going to move 1 row across. You can see my first needles are selected, and that's according to the punch card pattern. I have it locked. I have my punch card locked. I need to move it to 4, which is the middle position there. So 4, the triangle. Make sure it's in the middle, not all the way forward, not all the way back, but in the middle. That will advance our punch card. On our carriage, we want to make sure that we push MC. KC is still selected. Then we load in our contrast color, and you're going to clip it right here in the slot in the front. We'll do it again. So it just clips. Hopefully you can hear that. It just clicks right into the front of our carriage. I'll take my pin that I used earlier and hang my contrast color. So I'm on tension 10, we haven't changed that. I'm on MC, I'm on KC, and my card is at position 4. I have my needle selected. Let's go across. Awesome. My first contrast row has knitted into the needles. My punch card is 25 rows. I already had 5 knitted, so we're going to go to row counter 30. I'm at row 29. This is my last row across. 30, and actually I still have 1 stitch that's selected, so I'm going to go 31, and then all of my needles come out. I need to not knit anymore from here. I'm going to clip my contrast color yarn, and how I do that is I just hold it above my carriage, clip it below my hand, and then I can easily hang it onto the mast. Pull it from beneath, and then I can take that pin and hang it so that it stays out of the way. I'm going to turn my carriage back to NL, so it's normal or lace, and everything else stays the same. I'm going to knit 5 rows. 5 rows. I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to measure it to the end of my bed back to my carriage, and I will clip my yarn, holding it above, clip below, and then hang that on the mast. Take my yarn out of the carriage. I like to feed it from beneath. I'm going to thread my yarn. So before I do anything, I'm going to push all of my needles out. You can use your fingers or you can use your comb. Push the work back toward the bed and then push the needles out with your comb or your hand. I'm going to thread my yarn. An easy way to do this is to take your yarn, fold it in half, and use the tightness around your finger, and then feed that through the eye of the needle. It's a lot easier. From here, we are going to go into the front of our stitch and then back through the back and continue along the whole row of knitting here that way. So into the front, through the back, into the front, through the back, into the front, through the back, and I'm keeping it on the needles because it's just a little easier to manage. It will make sense while we're doing this in a hot minute, but we are doing this so that when we take the work off the machine, we can easily gather it. So this is our final product. We're creating this area here so that we can gather it up. You can unhang your comb and your weights. You could have done that earlier in the process too if the work got too heavy for you. So just detach your comb and your weights from the work. Remove your clothespin. Okay, this is your ornament. This is the flat piece of your ornament. We're going to seam up the back. That's going to make a tube. And then we're going to gather the top and the bottom, and that's going to create your circle. So you have your yarn tail and your needle still on one edge. So just go ahead and gather that up. It should gather quite nicely and easily. Check that you haven't dropped any stitches. If you dropped a stitch, it will run, and we can just catch that with our needle and put it back up if we need to. So this is all gathered up. We're going to take that one side and we're going to find the other side and just make a loop to close it. And that is gathered up at the top. And I'm just going to go into the center here and kind of do like a T or a cross and just secure those gathers. Something like that. And then maybe just one more. Good. So that closes up the top there. And then we're going to go across the sides and we're going to mattress stitch. So you're going to roll out your knitting, and you'll see that there are these vertical columns of stitches called wales. And we are going to find the one that's on the edge and go one stitch in. So this is my edge one. I'm going to go one stitch in. I'm going to find 2 bars. I'm going to pick up those 2 bars, stitch that through, go to the other side, uncurl it, get the end, Here's my end, here's my second stitch. I'm going to go through those two, get 2 bars. Do your best, it doesn't have to be precise. Just try to stay on the same row or column of stitches. And I find that I continuously kind of have to roll it out to get the column that I want. And you're going in one column, if that makes sense. So one line of vertical stitching. Once you are to the end, you can just kind of go back and forth between those last 2 stitches. And I like to do a gauge check. So the punch card is 24 stitches wide. We went 26 stitches basically. So we have that 1 stitch on each end, and that creates the seam allowance. So we should have kind of a seamless repeat, but I like to check my tension here and make sure that I didn't get it too tight or too loose, and just kind of pull it slightly to kind of set those stitches and make it an invisible repeat. And then if you pull it against itself, pull it tight in the width direction, you can see if your stitches are tight enough. Now, I've pulled it too tight and it's starting to pull down the top. So I just massage those stitches back through and feel like a pretty good tension is there, and I'm gonna go with that. So now we kind of have what looks like a teeny tiny little hat, and we're gonna start stuffing with polyfill. I'm going to take this tail that I've been working with, set it to the side. I'm going to tuck in my contrast color yarns. They can be part of the filling. And then the other end that we started from, that becomes the other side that we're going to gather. Just be real careful when you're pulling and gathering that you're not pulling too tightly or sharply that your thread snaps or your yarn snaps. So now that we have something like this, it's starting to look like a little mitten, we are going to stuff in our polyfill. I have about 14 grams of polyfill, and I'm going to stuff it into my ornament. I'm going to do this just like I was putting a pillowcase on a pillow. So just taking the edges of my ornament, stuffing in the polyfill. And then once all of that is inside, I'm going to find my cast on yarn and start pulling that, and it's going to gather that edge. And when it starts gathering that edge, the hole will close up. At this point, I'm going to take both of my yarn ends and I'm just going to cut them so that they're the same length. My same trick, folding over the yarn and threading my needle, give it a little wiggle wiggle. Okay, now I have this kind of a sausage log looking thing, maybe an egg. I'm going to pull that yarn again, make sure that I close up the hole. And using both of my tails now, I'm going to stitch here and across, and then maybe the other way, the opposite way, 90-degree angle across. And I want to make sure that I catch, I don't think I did, catch the edge of that cast on there and over to the other edge. And now that's all closed up. Okay, from here, we're going to make it from an oblong oval into more of a circle. So you can massage it, start it getting that way. Okay, I'm liking that shape. To hold that shape, I'm going to go from the bottom up through to the top. Push that through. Now you can squish it and make it kind of squared off if you want, but I'm just going to go back through again to the bottom just a few times, and that will keep us into this more of a circular shape and hold the ornament shape for us. So back through the top. And I can massage it a little bit, make sure that I'm not getting it too squished so that it looks square. You can do whatever shape you like. Something like that, and I'm just going to do it one more time. And then back through the top. And this is where we can create our loop for our ornament. So this is the back. I can go in there and massage some of those stitches, make it look more seamless. And I got a little far from the center, so if that happens, we can just redo it. So I'm going to go, I'm kind of away from the center. I guess it's okay, actually. I'm going to go to the other side, and this is how I'm going to make my loop for hanging onto the tree. So we have these two yarn tails, and that becomes our loop. You can make a small one for a hook, or you can make a big one to hang directly on the tree. I like to hang it directly, so I'm going to make it like this. And then from here, I'm running out of yarn, but I'm going to go behind and then through the front and then through that loop, and that's going to make a knot. I'm going to knot that off. I can do it with my hand as well, show you that way. So you're just kind of making the figure 4 knot. So behind, bring it to the front, and then bring it through that loop. Behind, around the front, through that loop. I'm going to do that a couple more times. If you had enough yarn, you could do the front and the back as well, and just kind of keeps it in place, but I think this will be okay. And then I'll take my yarn tails, thread them through my needle, and then hide them inside the work. And it kind of disappears. If it doesn't, we can snip it. He disappeared. So then knead it again. This part's real nice. You can also use this as an anxiety stress ball after the holidays. So just kind of get it into the right shape that you like, and you have your ornament. Thank you guys so much. I hope you loved it, and Merry Christmas.